and welcome to Falls from Iron. We are here doing the preview of the game at the City Ground tomorrow. I'll be very lucky enough to be there with my daughter. Matchday 2 of 38 in the Premier League. The first home game for Nottingham Forest in the Premier League for 23 years, Duke. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Okay.
Not much if you want me to be blunt and quite honest with you, yes, I can. It's they are or were.
Good morning, Rebecca.
They were once a force to be reckoned with. They were once, and this is in no way, shape, or form disrespectful to this side because they've not been in the Premier League. How long did you say?
23 years.
23 years. If you're out of the top flight for that long, it's not being disrespectful to say you were once a European giant. Like, did you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I know, listen, we can't talk, we haven't won trophies and everything else. I wouldn't consider us to be a giant club. We're massive, different story. Yeah. But we are a big club and we've been a big top flight club for a significant number of years, Yeah. So, yes, I can believe that this will be their first home game, and that's only because, they've gone through a very, very rough spell. I mean, more recently, and Leeds were in the same position. They were once a team to be reckoned with. European semi-final. Ferdinand and all the rest of that malarkey. But they disappeared for a number of years. You could even say Norwich, Rob, were once a big club. I remember, was it Jeremy Goss against Bayern Munich at Carrow Road? They had some big nights there. No longer true for that club. So, yeah, I mean, going back to Forest, I can believe it's their first game for a number of years in the Premier League. They haven't been anything special, and I have to say what I saw in the highlights last week against
Newcastle.
Again, without being disrespectful to a Newcastle side, it wasn't impressive. I think they're going to struggle. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one thing, just to reference it. A couple of things actually before we go too much further. The first thing I'd like to obviously say, apologies, I didn't say it right at the very beginning, but let's get it out of the way. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support. And please don't forget, talking of support, to give your support, if you are able to do, to the Iron Supporting Food Bank charity. You have the Just Giving link there. And if you just bear with me, dear ladies and gentlemen, well, I'm just going to take that off screen. I'm going to copy and paste, and I will put this in the comments. So if any of you guys have a few bob in your pocket and you think, actually, I'd like to do a little bit of good for people, this is a charity that you might want to turn your attention to. And if you're not aware of the work they do, basically what they do is they feed families in the Newham Borough area who are struggling. We're all struggling, let's face it. With this cost of living crisis, we're all getting crucified from all angles. But some of us can withstand those body blows better than others. And this charity helps those families that are maybe not as fortunate as you and I to be able to feed the younger ones around the table. So if any of you guys have got some funds that you can put in, you've got a Just Giving link there, and I've put it in the chat. Help yourself. If any of you actually go to the London Stadium on a match day, as I say, I'll let you know. John actually goes and he pitches up by the Aquatic Centre. If you come out of Westfield and you're walking towards the stadium, you've got the bridge where you've got the Aquatic Centre on your left. You've got the Olympic Stadium in front of you. Well, John normally rocks up. He'll park himself down on a bench there, and he's usually got a flag up. So he's quite prominent. If you rock up there, if you've got any, cans of beans or, whatever food items you can bring along, or if you want to just sort of be a little bit old school and go, here you go, mate, here's a tenner or whatever, he'll take it, not a problem. And as always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this endeavour. So, am I right in saying, Duke, correct me if I'm wrong, they actually, you were saying about they were once a big club, and Nottingham Forest were, under Brian Clough, they won the league title. I think within a year or two of getting promoted, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
they then went and won the European Cup, which is obviously now what we call the Champions League, and then went and defended it. And this was a small. I don't, when I say small, if there's any Forest fans watching, I'm not being disparaging. I'm talking small in terms of they were a local, provincial community club. They weren't a Liverpool of the day. They weren't a Manchester United of the day. They weren't a Leeds United of the day. They were a team that had recently been promoted with a manager that had not exactly covered himself in glory in earlier spells at Leeds United and Brighton and Hove Albion, where I think he was in charge for a very short space of time. Had obviously success at Derby, did Brian Clough, great manager. But those days were long past. And I actually think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they actually dropped down into what is now League One spell within that 23-year period. Same as Leeds. I mean, you referenced Leeds earlier, another huge club, massive following, great traditions and history, whatever you want to think about the dirty Leeds tag and all the rest of it. But Nottingham Forest, Leeds United, they're clubs that their history, their fan base, their stadium, you look at the club and you think that fundamentally should be a Premier League club, but for whatever reasons, whether it's mismanagement or whatever the reason is, no team has a divine right to be in the Premier League. And they found themselves out of that particular club for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I was saying, to be honest, the last, I don't know, 4 weeks have very much shown me a little bit of the fan base that I don't appreciate.
Okay. We're talking
we
ours
know
or theirs?
Their fan base. Again,
I've not.
Yeah. I've not had much to do with Forest fans over the years. They've not had to.
Yeah.
City fans, as people can attest to that have watched the channel before, got a lot of time for City fans. I've got a lot of time for Manchester City fans. And I think that's reciprocated across the fan bases. I think West Ham fans, there's an appreciation, as we've said before. They're proper fans. They stuck by their club when they were in some serious downturn. What is it? Still getting like 28, 29, 33, 35,000 at Main Road in Division 2 back then.
Playing teams
so
like Matchday
Division,
or whoever.
Yeah, Division 3 and shit like that. The Forest fans over the last 4 to 6 weeks have certainly shown me they're not that gracious.
Not all of the Forest fans, to be fair. I mean, it's
not all of them.
But you always get that.
But there is a fair chunk that, obviously, unlike you, I tend to spend a lot of time on the social media.
I try to avoid it
via Forged or via my own personal on Twitter, and it was just ridiculous the attitude that they chose once Jailings. Once he'd signed for them, this cocky arrogance that we're a big club, all that tosh that came with it, and I was like, hold your horses, he's joined you for the money. Let's not dick around. Let's not listen. He's joined you for money. He hasn't joined you because he wants to be part of a project or whatnot. He joins you for the cash. No, exactly. So the arrogance. Oh, he's left. He's not joined you because you're in a big club or a big club, European champions. Yeah, how long ago, guys? Come on, like, why's your neck in slightly? So yeah. I've seen a side. I've seen the Forest fans portray them this way Ken, let's not bring that up, please.
Yeah, you must know the story with that game. Don't bring it up.
Yeah, so I've seen the side of the Forest fans that I didn't particularly enjoy. So I am really looking forward to tomorrow that we absolutely smash them bandy and just put them back in their place. Can I ask a question? Why is Rob's name in capital letters and not my own? What is this? Is he more important?
No, maybe he's angry at me. Maybe he was shouting, "Morning, Rob!" You know, I don't know. And then he calmed down. Or maybe just the caps lock got stuck and he didn't realise until he sent it. I don't know.
He might just get held that that shift button down for 2 more letters when it was only meant to be the first one. We'll never know.
There you go. Right. Okay. So, shall we turn our attention to trying to work out lineups and stuff like that, Duke?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I have my own thoughts as to what I want to see tomorrow, but let's wait and see. Let's you give us your thoughts.
Well, we'll go through mine and we'll go through yours at the same time. Let's do it. Okay, well, I'll go with Nottingham Forest first because they're the home team. I'll go full screen and get rid of that banner at the bottom. Hang on. No, not that one. Not that one. That one. I'm still getting used to it. I've been doing it, 18 months now? Christ.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so this is the Nottingham Forest team that I suspect Steve Cooper will be going with. In goal, Dean Henderson, England international, on loan from Manchester United, cracking goalkeeper. I looked at the stats of the game last week that Newcastle got a 2-0 victory and they were good value for it. Nottingham Forest didn't have a shot on target in the 90. I think Dean Henderson's going to be a busy boy this season. I really do. I think he's really going to earn his stripes for them. I heard also that apparently that this loan deal, there's no option or obligation to buy in it. So it's just purely a loan. But there you go. Back three, I suspect, from left to right, excuse me, will be McKenna, Niakate, if that's how it's pronounced. I don't know, whatever. And Worrell, the captain. I suspect it will be a midfield 4 because they lined up last week against Newcastle United with a 3-4-1-2 formation. Left, I suspect, will be Toffolo. Right will be Williams. And the central midfield pairing, I suspect, will be Mangala and O'Brien. It was Jack Cole back in central mid last week. So I suspect there may be a change in central mid. Now, the gentleman that you was referencing earlier, Mr. Jesse Lingard, there he is, occupying a space in front of the midfield and behind the strikers. He will have a sort of a roaming role to play. And then up top, I suspect there'll be Brennan Johnson, who is as quick as lightning. And I suspect there will be a change up top as well. Sam Surridge was playing as the striker alongside Johnson last week. And I suspect it will be the Nigerian international Awonyi that will come in alongside him. So, Mr. Duke, your thoughts?
I know 2 names, 3 names. What is wrong with you? There we go.
Right.
No, I know.
Late night last night.
I did, yeah. I know 3 names. Henderson, Worrell. Actually, 4 names. Henderson, Worrell, Lingard, and Johnson. And Johnson was because obviously we were linked for a little bit. I say linked. It was a tentative name that had been put out there alongside the other 2,856 that we've been linked with since the end of June. So they're literally, as Ken mentioned earlier, they've signed like a load of players. They've let 13 players go. You know, for anyone who has dabbled in a bit of Football Manager, knows that bringing in a significant number of players does upset, the team cohesion. So I can't. Listen, they were very flat against Newcastle last week, and Newcastle didn't look. They didn't excite me in the adverts that I've seen. I have to say that we do have to be wary of. I have to be wary of Johnson and the pace. You know, we're going to, especially looking at the fact that Zuma isn't himself at the moment. You know, he's not exactly lightning quick, but he's quick. So yeah, I'm in a situation where, you know what, Lingard, we know possesses the talent. We do. We saw it for 6 months ourselves, which is why we were all clamouring for him to come back. You know, I know Worrell is a decent centre half. And then obviously you've got Henderson in goal, who um, I would have loved him. I would have loved him. I would have loved to have brought him in as well as Ariola. But that being said, like I say, they got 4 players there that I know of. The others I don't. It's parcel of a team coming up out of the championship, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and Kent made the comment earlier, and I'll tell you, I'll just go back and just in case anyone didn't see it, and he made the point about the room that will be created from the wing backs bombing on. I think we absolutely need to take advantage of that, and if the players that I suspect we're going to start with do start, we will have, put it this way, we will have players with a certain amount of pace if we pick the 11 that I want to pick. We will have players that down the flanks will be able to really take advantage of any defensive lapses that they put on show.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You'd you'd hope so. I mean, Epic's turned around and said there about Cooper being a tactically astute coach, you know, and they will take advantage of our weakness. And as we know, our weakness is down that left. It's just past. Oh,
Your aim will improve, Happy. Your aim
she
will
won't.
improve.
She won't miss me by the end of the video when I keep calling her Kerry. Haps, are you going tomorrow? If you're not, I'm going to
No, I
just
don't think
quickly.
he was because I offered her a
I'm
ticket.
gonna plug it now. Gonna get in there early. I've got a few people coming to the Lewisham Tavern tomorrow. Steve 50, who's
Sorry,
been
Duke. Where?
the Lewisham Tavern. Bang, there, look at that. I'll tell you what, that was almost like the Rafa Benitez moment. You know, the old third eye when he did that and his name came up. There's a beautiful place. I've got better flowers still.
You need to update this photo, don't you?
I know, and it's been painted now. It's not black and grey. It's actually grey and light grey. Happy. Don't start that shit. Don't start that shit. I can sort you out with drinks. I know the manager of the pub. Don't worry about it. But yeah, if anyone wants to come down, I've got probably about 5 or 6 people from this community, YouTube community. I also have about 8 or 9 possibly coming in that are West Ham fans that, as they said last week during the City game, they found somewhere in South East London that they thought would never happen, that is a comfortable place to watch a West Ham game. So for those of you not going, those of you local enough, I know there are a few from down under that are not going to get here, but you've got somewhere to come and watch the game. I'm not working until 6, so I get to spend time watching the game. So come down to see me.
That's your place to go. That is your place to go. Okay, right. So, should I get you the West Ham team? Now, I'll be honest. I don't know how much of this is my head and how much of this is what I want to see in my heart, sort of thing. I don't know whether this is me picking the 11 or David Moyes. You can judge for yourself. I suspect it might be more that it's me. I tell you what, let's go full screen and get rid of that banner again. So, okay. I suspect Ariola in goal. I've got a funny feeling, and I know that you could turn around and say Ariola didn't have the best of games after he came on as a substitute for Fabianski, but I do wonder whether the injury and maybe the lack of training that injury would have might cause David Moyes to say, I'm going to stick with Areola for the minute. And as I said last week, we've spent big money on the guy in terms of the transfer fee and also in terms of wages. I think we should try and get as much value out of that particular piece of business as possible. So I think Areola starts. Back four. Now, this is where I've sort of ummed and ahed, and I could be completely wrong. I think Kufau will be at right back, and I think Cresswell will be at left back. Now, there is an argument that you could make for Johnson at right back or Johnson at left back even, potentially, in place of, obviously, the incumbents that I've got there. I suspect that Zuma will play, despite the fact that last week, I think it's fair to say it was fairly evident that he had an injury and he wasn't 100%, which is a concern. But we don't have any other, or we didn't last week have any other fit central defenders, which was why we played a fullback at centre half. I'm hopeful that Dawson will be available. I'm not sort of like terribly sort of, he's a definite starter, because I don't know. There may be that he doesn't make it, but if he's available, I would have him partnering Kurt Zuma, and that would be my back four.
May I have a question?
Fire away.
I'm not sure, in a chat somewhere, did Dawson not have surgery or was requiring surgery this week?
There was a rumour doing the rounds that there may be surgery involved, but I'm mindful of the fact that there can sometimes be things that are put out that latterly come out as being smoke and mirrors. So sometimes it can be quite difficult to separate fact from fiction. I don't know. If he's available, I would have him as the centre back. If he's not available, then I think, with regret, and I don't mean this to be disparaging on Ben Johnson, he did the best he could last week, but let's not kid ourselves. He was culpable for both of the goals that we conceded. He did all right outside of that for a guy that's a fullback playing at centre-back. I don't mean to slag him off. I'm actually a Ben Johnson fan, but he very much was a square peg in a round hole. So if Craig Dawson is fit, I would have him partnering Kurt Zuma. And as I say, for Johnson himself, if Dawson is fit, you could make the case of playing Johnson instead of Kufau. You could make the case of playing Johnson instead of Cresswell. I think that Cresswell would be the more vulnerable of the two fullbacks should Dawson be available. That might be a choice that David Moyes might have, but that's where I'm at with that. Now, I would advocate, and I'm not necessarily sure that David Moyes will do it, but this is probably my formation more than anything else. I would advocate a change of formation to a 4-3-3. And I would bring in Flynn Downs at the base of that midfield three and have him as the defensive shield with a little bit of a detail to be the guy to track Jesse Lingard. So Flynn Downs in that scenario becomes all important for me. That would then allow Declan Rice and Thomas Soucek a bit more of a license to roam when we are in possession. I think Maxwell Cornet will come in for his full debut on the left, and Jared Bowen will retain his place on the right. You could turn around and say he didn't do enough last week to keep the shirt, but I think, and I know some people don't agree with the credit in the bank, excuse, reason, whatever, but I think that he's earned enough respect that one performance doesn't define him. So I think that he should start. And up top, I would have Gianluca Scamacca starting. So that means that Lanzini drops out, Fornals drops out, and Antonio drops out from last week's starting 11, and also Johnson. Talk to me, Duke. Oh, and Fabianski.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with a few of the others in the chat, Rob. To be honest with you, I don't see the change in the formation like you do.
Probably not. Like I say, it's probably me more than me trying to predict Moyes. But
I think you're right. Bar one change, and that's, as Kent mentioned, it'll be He'll be Ben Rama in the 10 and not Downs. So, yeah, you're not far wrong, but it'll just be the Souček and Rice will drop back. Downs will be out, and probably Ben Rama, which would seem to be the way to go, considering that we've just lost Vlasic. So I thought Vlasic would have been given a shot at a 10. But other
Do
than
you
that,
think
I
he
think
was
it's
given
spot
enough
on.
time?
No, I really don't. I mean, listen, we know my thoughts on it. We know that I've sat here and I've said many times before that Ben Rama's been given the 2 years and hasn't performed consistently. I'm hoping that he will this season. And we gave Vlasic a year. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's my opinion. I'm not gonna entertain argument today over it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. We're not talking about that.
I
But
hope you're wrong, Richie.
I listen. I hope he's wrong.
Yeah.
But that being said, it is now. Listen, we've now got to wait, haven't we? Really, neither of us can sit here and go for certain. So no, I think one player Downs out, but Rama in that 10. And I think Ben Rama might benefit from having Cornet out on that left. I think there'll be some concentration on him because of his pace. So it might just open up that middle of the pitch. They might end up trying to drop a player further out wide to help their right back, and Ben Rama, benefits from that.
Supposing you're right and your formation, your team selection is the one that you're going to go with, a 4-2-3-1, the standard formula that David Moyes likes to employ. With Jesse Lingard being in that space between the midfield four and the striking pair, it's sort of like a bit of a sort of like an odd area, because it's like, and you've played football, when you've got someone that's occupying that space between the lines, who's going to pick him up? Is it going to be a defender that's going to step out? Is it going to be a fielder that's going to drop back? Who do you think is going to be detailed to keep an eye on Lingard? Because I think that I know people will turn around and say, well, he didn't have a great game last week against Newcastle. That's fine. But what you have to remember is he hasn't had a pre-season. He probably hasn't been done much training and all the rest of it. And I'm just mindful of the fact
I don't want to hear that shit. He's danced his way to fitness, Robert. Don't give me that. He's danced he's TikToked himself into fitness. No, piss off.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about Lingard. I don't care about his pre-season. I don't care about his fitness. I don't give two shits. But you asking the question about who's responsible for him. For me, if you've got Johnson and you've got Omoyinmi up front, whatever his name was, Alex Iwobi, one of them, that your two centre backs need to be watching those two players. Zuma's going to have to pay attention, and a lot of attention to Johnson. The other fella, that's going to be Dawson's. So then you've got to ask Rice to watch Lingard, because I think Rice's defensive capabilities outweigh, obviously, Souček's. We know this. So for me, and if I was in that position I played centre back for many years, I'd be, in my opinion, if I had, someone playing in a formation that we should be playing tomorrow with a 4-2-3-1, I'd be screaming at Declan Rice that he's the man to cover Jesse Lingard tomorrow. There's no questions need to be asked about it. You get your ass, you're watching him. Us two have got our hands full with these two guys here. Our fullbacks are going to be concentrating on their wing backs. That's your man. There's no dicking around. I don't want to see you fucking leaving him unmarked when they've got the ball, because you're on the edge of their box ready to try and put one in row Z. That ain't the case. You are on him like glue. I don't want to see him moving. because listen, regardless of his fitness, regardless of what we think of Minsgaard, as Happy keeps putting in the chat, he's a good player, Rob, and he has all the ability to cause us problems tomorrow.
Yes.
So I'm not saying give him special attention. There needs to be attention paid to him because he could quite easily find a pass that puts Johnson in behind Zuma and Dawson. He could quite easily pick the ball up on the edge of the box, quick sidestep, quick drop of the shoulder. Next thing you know, he's bending one in the far corner with his right foot like he did at the London Stadium. So, there needs to be attention paid to him. And for me, if I was Zuma and Dawson, I'd be hollering my lungs out. Get your ass in here. That's your man. Don't take your eye off him.
Fair. But how excited would you be? We've obviously spoken about he who from this point on we're not going to reference going forward. We'll try not to. But how excited are you on the flip side of that particular coin? We've spoken about their strengths. We've also spoken about our possible deficiencies. How excited and how critical to our chances of success if they start? Do you think Maxwell Cornet and Milesy referenced them, Cornet and Gianluca Scamacca?
Oh, they're key to our season, Rob. They'll only game tomorrow. They're key for our season. I mean, just quickly going to what Happy says, I completely agree with what Happy says. I think he can still do a job for us. I think he's a great player. It was just a bit of a performance against City, but he's not going to be the only good player in anyone's team that fails miserably against City. He really isn't. So, for anyone that's there smashing him with a big stick, forget that bollocks. He's not the only good player that's going to suffer because City is so good. Yeah, he can still do the job, and we're a big club, and yes, eventually he will be moved on, but he's still there. He still has the ability. I think he's a great player, and I agree with Milesy. But back to Scamacca and Cornet, they're crucial to our whole season, Rob. It's a scary thought that I'm sitting here. Not even just them two, but I'm going to go with Ben Rama and I'm going to trio this off. Ben Rama, Scamacca, Cornet, key to what we do this season. Listen, we know what Bowen's capable of. We've seen it. We know exactly how that works. So we know what's to come from someone like Jared Bowen, Declan Rice, Thomas Souček. If the tables are put back to where they were, and normal service resumes, and you see Dec doing what Dec does best, and Big Tom doing what Tom does best, we know what we can expect from them. Defensively, I do think, hey, big man. Technically, at the back, I do think we're weak. I do think we're very, and not even because of the injuries. I just think we're very light and very susceptible defensively. But we can outscore teams outside of the top four. We can. And we can probably outscore a couple of the top four sides. Let's not piss around. So the likes of Ben Rama, massive crucial season for him now. Vlasic has got huge. Scamacca, I just hope he rocks up and does what he did last season, really. 16 goals. I'll be happy with 16 goals. I personally think he's going to hit 20. I think he's going to hit 20 in all competitions, maybe 25 in all competitions this season. If you think that he could probably hit 10 in the conference, if is the case. And then Cornet, never thought in a million years that this guy from Burnley last season that I'd say be sitting here now going, it's crucial that Cornet is a great player. No, I didn't think I'd ever be saying that. But that being said, crucial he has that game tomorrow that shows us exactly what he's capable of. Cornet, How many goals and assists? Was it something like 10? 10 goals and assists?
I
Or was
think
it
it was
more than
something
that?
like that. If you give me a couple of minutes, I'll find the information.
He's in a poor relegated Burnley side. He's and you can talk to Dan over at Turf Moorhouse.
Hmm.
These guys have been bigging him up. He's a good player. So yeah, with a bit of luck, I think those three are crucial. Crucial.
26
There you go.
Premier League appearances, 9 goals, 1 assist.
One assist. Ken's just got in there
So 10,
seconds
10 goal
before it,
involvement.
which is fantastic. For a
Cheers, Ken.
relegated side is outstanding. Now we're in a situation right now, Rob, where we have a weaker squad than we did last season. Okay,
In terms of number, quality, or both?
I think to a degree in terms of both. I do. I'm
So do
sorry,
I.
but Aguerd, it's just sod's law. You can't do much about that. I get that. It's one of them unfortunate things, isn't it? Shit happens. But I'm also sitting here going, we've let these go. These players are gone. Diop's gone, so we're now 2 short at the back because the Aguerd injury. Well, 3 short unless they win. The Aguerd injury, unless they Diop.
Well, we've lost 9 players. I looked at it last night. We've lost 9 players, including obviously Noble, who retired. And I know people could turn around and use the excuse or reason, whatever. Well, they were fringe players. They weren't regular
Doesn't
first
matter.
team 11, but they were still players that fundamentally could come on even for the last 10 minutes of a match, whatever the situation, and see the game out. Well, we've let 9 players go, retire, end of contract, whatever. We've brought 5 players in, but one of those players was in the squad last season in Areola. So I actually count, really, I'd say that's 4. So you're 5 players down. We was already thin last season.
Listen, I'm gonna jump to Moyes' defence here. He obviously knows something we don't right now.
I hope so.
I'm hoping that the Tilo Carer deal is
no Trodge. He's
more
not
advanced than people are giving us credit for. I'd like to think that there's some move in the Lasley's, Attila, Attila the Hub. I'm hoping there's some movement now. There was talk yesterday that Moyes kiboshed pretty quickly, which was the
I'm
Memphis
not advocating
Depay,
Moyes out fresh. Trust me.
which was the Memphis Depay deal. He kiboshed it quite quickly. You know what? I tell you what, I'm moving on a loan, mate. I'd move in and talk about that geezer on a loan. I agree with Ken. I think we need 5 or 6 more in, and that's minimal. I think we need. Listen. I'd love to be talking to PSG about Diallo and Kara. I'd love to bring them both in. One's a left back, as well as a centre back, and the other one's a centre back and a right back. 2 for about 25 million. I think we'll probably get them both for. So that's got to be done deal. I'd also, well, I probably wouldn't because you've got Downs and Coventry. Lanzini can sit in there. Fornals can sit in there. So you haven't got to worry about another centralist midfielder. And then I do believe we need someone else that can play on the left alongside Cornet. You've got Cristiano Antonio that can play out on the right and help Bowen. He can also play on the left because he likes to drift. And then we're looking at what can we do to help Skamaka. So there's probably about another 6 that come in, and I'm hoping that's something's done by Tuesday. I'm quite confident that the game against Viborg on Thursday night should necessarily be a formality. Touch wood, I'm not screwing that over. but there needs to be something in place for the Villa game on, which is not on telly, by the way, next Sunday, which has annoyed me. But there needs to be something
Not
in
in the
place for the
UK
Villa game.
anyway. They might be
I
somewhere
might
in the
go to France.
south of France.
Yeah.
Other countries are available.
But yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed, but it's going to sound really cocky and arrogant, which is what I moaned about the Forest fans at the top of the show. I think we should have enough, and I'm glad the Forest game has come now, and it's not a Chelsea, a Liverpool, Arsenal, Spuds. I'm glad it's not one of those. I'm glad it's a Forest, or if it had been a Fulham or even a Villa to a certain degree, because I think they're struggling. I think there's a lot going behind the scenes there as well with Tyrone Mings and Steven Gerrard. So, is it Brighton next year? I thought it was Villa next time. Hands up, sorry. So I'm kind of glad that it's Forest tomorrow. And like I say, I think we've got enough to deal with tomorrow and Thursday, but we need to get deals over the line the early part of the week to give these players a chance of bedding in and training.
Yeah, it's quite funny because I'm on a group chat on WhatsApp, as you know. I know you are in a few.
I should be as well. I'm not part of it. What's going on? I'm a Patreon.
Do you want me to have a word?
Oh, you might have to.
Okay, I'll
see. Me and my friends over at the Hamchat, I upgraded.
My people will talk to their people, and their people will talk to your people, and
well, you're my people.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. My agent fee's 15%, of course. So
15% of nothing.
Sort of beer when I come in, and you'll be fine. It's fine. But no,
sounds good to me.
Yeah, what I want to see, Duke, tomorrow. Minimum, I want to see not that performance. And I know you and me had a slight difference of a viewpoint on it, and I maintain what I say. You maintain what you say. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to see such a tepid, meek, mild performance as what I saw last week. If we go out there and we put in a high energy, high tempo, courageous, determined performance, I'm convinced we've got more than enough to deal with them. I'm not saying we're going to destroy them 5-0. I'm not being that disrespectful. But I think that if we go at them with the right attitude, our extra quality, our extra experience of playing Premier League football over a lot of the players that they're going to have, because I think out of the 11 that I put, I think there was 7 or 8 players that are new to Nottingham Forest. So they're still getting used to the terrain of A, the club, and B, the league that they're playing in. And that can take time, especially with that amount of players in one hit. So I think we've got some good advantages that we need, but we need to, like I say, we need to go out and we need to have a sort of like, right, okay, first whistle, bang. And to be fair, we did it against City last week, but it lasted 2 minutes. And it's got to continue beyond 2 minutes. We can't sort of like go out there, play for 2 minutes and go, right, 120 seconds of effort and energy and pressing them. And now we can just sit back. No. You've got another 88 minutes to do this, sunshine.
You talking about your performance or West Ham last week?
Well, listen, we discussed that, and I trusted you with that information, and
Sorry.
You gave me a collection of pills that you had when you had a similar problem. We have a laugh. We have a laugh.
We have to, don't we?
Right.
There's no point in not.
Absolutely.
That cheers me up. His last message there. Onana on the bench versus Villa. Listen,
he's probably not match fit.
I'm over the moon, right? Again, saw a lot of, just before you closed off, I saw a lot of stuff during the week about Everton fans banging on about this guy. And this guy himself actually banging the Lampard. He was a midfielder. I grew up watching. Fuck off, mate. You've gone there because they're going to give you 130 grand a week as a 21-year-old who's played a total of
Mm,
56 first-team matches.
not quite the
So,
version of events I've heard. It wasn't a money thing. By all accounts, the version of events I've heard is that he wanted to come to West Ham, and it wasn't a question of, money or whatever. It was more a question of this. Like I say, this is what I've heard. He spoke to Frank Lampard, and Frank Lampard said, "You're in my starting 11. As soon as you're fit, you're in my starting 11. The team, you will be a part of my full strength team if fit, if available, blah, blah, blah." He's gone to David Moyes, and David Moyes has not given him the same assurances. And we know that he doesn't give those assurances to players. We know that's his modus operandi. So he sat back and gone, "Okay, I'll go to the guy that says he's going to play me." I haven't really got a problem with that, to be honest.
he's 21 years old. He's played a grand total of 56 games in his first-team games in his career so far. I don't think that managers should be offering those kind of assurances for a player
Don't disagree.
like that. I don't. When you consider that those performances have been in two farmers leagues, Rob, outside of your big boys. Outside of your big boys, there's not much else in those two leagues. Let's not lie. We've discussed this previously on this channel. We've discussed this when talking about Haaland in Germany.
Yeah.
I've said it before.
Agree,
outside of Dortmund, and Munich, outside of PSG, Monaco, there's not much else in that league. They can snap up the best players, and you can look amazing. If you're a good player, you can look amazing playing for those two clubs. Outside of those two clubs, what else is there? Like, what else are you coming up against as a midfielder outside of those two clubs? Bang average players, more than likely, because the rest are already here, or the rest are at PSG or at Monaco, at Bayern, at Dortmund. Well, not necessarily Barcelona anymore because they can't afford to put players on a pitch. But Barcelona,
they've got lots of players that they can't register.
Well,
they've
just sold part of Barcelona, 25% of Barcelona media for £85 million. I was going to do this off air, Rob, and talk to you about it, but we need the guys that negotiated that deal to come on board with us and see what we can get for 25% of False Ryan. I think there's something to do there.
I think we'll probably be lucky to get 2 fingers of a Kit Kat.
Oh, see, I was going to say a couple of Freddo Frogs, to be fair, but they've gone up in price, so it might only be one.
Everything's gone up in price. Where have you been for the last 6 to 8 months?
Working.
Yeah, there is that. And Lewisham can sort of like occupy an awful lot of your energy. But right, okay. So before we get into score predictions, and guys in the live chat, get your score predictions in as well. Let's just get the officials out the way. So the referee will be Robert Jones. He's got to be Welsh, hasn't he? I'm sure that doesn't make him a bad referee.
Very assumptive of you, Robert.
Not a referee that I'm terribly familiar with, so I'm guessing he's a new addition to the Premier League list. But there you go. Good luck to him. Hopefully he gives us a couple of penalties and sends off a few of their players. Anyway, assistants will be Lee Betts and Ian Hussin. The fourth official will be Simon Hooper. The VAR will be Michael Salisbury. And the assistant VAR will be Richard West. There you go.
Having a clue.
Nah, me neither. Right. Anyway, should we get down to score predictions, ladies and gentlemen? Right, Duke. How's this going to go?
As Glyn has said, if we do the simple things right, we show intent, we fight for every ball, we will win tomorrow. Forest atmosphere. I'm actually going to go 1-3. I'm actually going to go a West Ham 3-1 win, as Gary said here. I actually see a goal. I actually see a goal for our front three each. I see one for Cornet, I see one for Bowen, and I see one for Skamakaveni, as I've seen him nicknamed already. Yeah, I can see Lingard scoring, but I think it would actually be Johnson. Yeah,
Thank you,
3-1
Kent.
West Ham.
Kent's gone 3-2. I'm like I say, I think it all hinges on what version of West Ham comes out. If the version of West Ham come out tomorrow that I saw against City, we're in trouble. And when I say we're in trouble as far as getting a result tomorrow is concerned. And I possibly would also say that we could be in trouble for the season, because I would just be very concerned if we had back-to-back performances of the ilk that I saw last week in terms of the lack of energy, in terms of the lack of intensity and all the rest of it. If we backed it up for a second game in a row, and let's have it right. Yes, we're away from home, but we're playing against a team that came up by the playoffs. So in theory, this should be one of the easier games of the season. Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just looking at it realistically. A team that's
Yeah, yeah,
established the league for 10 years against a team that came up the previous season via the playoffs. So obviously, when you're coming up via the playoffs, you don't know until that final whistle goes whether you're still going to be a championship club or you're going to be a Premier League next season. So you can't plan until a lot later than we could have done last season. Obviously, we
yeah,
knew we were going to be a Premier League team. So really, this should be 3 points. I'll say I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Forest fans. I'm just saying it as it is. If roles reversed, they'd be saying the same thing about us. So this should
yeah.
be 3 points. But if we go out there like we did last week, we get turned over. And if that happens tomorrow, I'm now really concerned for the rest of the season. And I know it's only 2 games in, but I'm at this point, I would start to have a few alarm bells ringing. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be saying we're getting relegated or anything like that. I'm not going to that extent, trust me. But I think it would put a little bit of a question mark. And I think at that point, there might start to be a few panic stations going behind the scenes, because it's like, Christ, we've lost our first 2. We've looked absolutely dog shit. And we've got a lack of players. We've got a lack of quality. We've got certain players that are playing like Zuma that are injured, but have to play because we've got no bloody choice. At that point, I would be really, really concerned. So if we can put out a high energy performance, if we can put out a courageous, brave performance where we come out and we're gonna go, right, we're the established Premier League team, you're the upstarts, we're gonna come at you and we're gonna blow you away, then I think we've got more than enough to take care of them. We take this game 2-0, done. But if we don't, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the game, and I'm concerned for the next 36 games of the Premier League season. I'm not saying relegation. I'm just saying maybe our season isn't quite what we might have expected before a ball was kicked against Man City.
Listen, I don't think we can play as badly as we did last week to a degree of against a Forest side that are nowhere near as good as
Hello,
the
Elliot,
City
by the way.
side keeping the ball. So I don't see I just don't see the I don't see the same thing happening. Obviously, Forest aren't as good as the City side, so I really, you know, I can't see us conceding possession of the ball like we did last week. That
That's
being
why I
said,
would.
I understand where you're coming from, and I understand your concerns. You know, it's one of them. So we'll just have to wait and see, Robert. This no one knows until the game actually starts tomorrow, and then
Absolutely.
we can discuss. Then we can discuss where we're at. Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Listen,
it's one of
Eamon,
them.
I accept that. I know that's what you say, steering heat and all the rest of it. But at the beginning of the season, the second half was played in the shade for the majority of the pitch. So it wasn't 90 minutes in the sun for a lot of the players. There was 2 drinks breaks as well. And it's the same heat for both sets of players. And if you watch City, they're just as energetic off the ball as when they're on it. So I don't subscribe to that one. I think looking for an excuse. I think that's just my opinion. There you go. But you're entitled to yours.
Hey, listen, you know my take on it. I was in agree. I probably still am to a degree in in a way with Eamon there. I do
Yeah,
agree that I feel that it's a City side that are, as I said last week, it's a City side designed to keep the ball and have you chasing. On the flip side to that, Eamon, and to try and come down on the side of the coin where I can placate both you and Rob in that sense of the word, then we should have changed our tactics and gone at it a different way, knowing how they play, knowing that that's what they do. We probably should have shown more. But again, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. It's done and dusted. That was last week. If we get the same sort of performance this week, then we can have cause for concern. If we don't, forget about it and move on.
absolutely. Right. I have got. Do you like alliterations? Because here's one. 5 fascinating football factoids. See what I did there?
I saw.
Okay.
There's
There
only
you go.
4 Fs.
Right. Factoid
Need
number
a
1.
fifth one.
I'll try for next week. This
All
is
right,
the
then.
first meeting between Nottingham Forest and West Ham United in any competition since January 2014, when Forest won 5-0 in an FA Cup tie at the City Ground. Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
doesn't
wasn't
count.
pretty, was it?
Full of kids.
Yeah, we'll move that to one side and move swiftly on to factoid number 2. We only lost one of our 8 Premier League matches against Nottingham Forest between 1994 and 1999. There were 4 wins and 3 draws. A 1-0 home defeat in January 1997 was the defeat in question. They are unbeaten. We are unbeaten. In 8 top flight visits to the City Ground since Brian Clough's Forest, that's going back some, beat us 2-1 in April 96. I've got a funny feeling that was Johnny Method from Christ knows how long, and it flew above Phil Parks' head. Kent's in the chat. He'll probably confirm that is indeed the case.
Johnny
So that's
Method.
factoid number 2. Johnny Method. Yeah. I think he also played for Spurs at one point, if I remember rightly. Factoid number 3. We have won 10 of our last 14 Premier League games against promoted sides, with 2 draws and 2 defeats, with both of our defeats in this run coming against, who was it against, do you reckon, Duke? Let's test your memory. 2 defeats against the promoted team last season.
Oh, bloody hell.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
You'll kick yourself, Brentford.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
My brain went, no, I can't even.
You haven't got much sleep. I'll give you that. Factoid number 4. This is Nottingham Forest's first Premier League match since May 1999, which was winning 1-0 against Leicester in what was Ron Atkinson's final game as a manager in English football. They won their final 7 home league games last season, last winning more in a row between November 2009 and March 2010, which was a run of 12 matches.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. 5th and final factoid. This will be Nottingham Forest's 200th Premier League game. Just one of the last 10 sides to reach the milestone has won their 200th match, with Watford beating Huddersfield 3-0 in October 2018. And they are, ladies and gentlemen, your factoids.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know my takes on previous games and other bits and pieces. It doesn't matter because tomorrow's the one that counts, isn't it? It's I'm confident. I'm confident.
Good.
Tomorrow.
Hold on, we got some food news from Eamon. He's cooked chicken fajita, and then he's realised he's got no rice. Schoolboy error. Get yourself down the shop. Surely you can get a cheap bag of ding rice, stick it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, job's a good one.
Indeed.
Yeah, and yes, Method, there you go. Yeah, I remember that game. As I say, it was a free kick from, must have been fully 30 yards, and he's just levered it. And it was one of those that you could sort of like look at it and go, could Phil Parks have done better? But he's like, mate, that was travelling. That was travelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we knock it on the head, my friend?
No, I'm happy. I think we covered what we need to cover. I just really hope we show up, do a job, and blow it out the park tomorrow. And you know the front three, front four really do put on a show tomorrow.
Absolutely. Right. Okay. We'll finish as we started. I've just put it in the chat. Please don't forget, if you can, to donate via the Just Giving link that you can see there, which is I've just put in the chat, to the Iron Supporting Food Bank charity, which is a charity that operates in Newham Borough area, helping needy families to feed them and feed their offspring and all the rest of it. That you can, if you go to a home game, as I say, you can find John rocked up by the Aquatic Centre, but obviously it's not a home game this weekend. If you've got a few bob in your pocket and you want to do a little bit of good in the community, you'd be doing a great service to this particular charity. Whatever donation it is, they'll quite happily take it. Please give them your support. And please also don't forget, as we always say, to like, comment, and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. Mr. Duke, we'll finish as we usually do. What are we, my friend?
Absolutely fucking massive.
There you go. Off to Nottingham tomorrow. Come on, you Irons.